Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of the Virtual College Exploration Series for all Illinois students. We are so excited to have you here and present today. Before we get started and I hand it over to our awesome panelists, I just want to give you a few reminders. Number one, this is a webinar format, so your videos and your microphone are off, so we cannot see or hear you, so don't panic if you're looking for that button. But with that being said, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen or wherever that bar is located at on your screen to ask questions for the panelists that they will answer throughout the session. And if they do not, they'll get back to you at the end. If you like what you see today, I would encourage you to go and sign up for more sessions. Just go to IACAC.org and you can register for sessions there. You can also see recordings there too. So after this session, if you'd like to go back, get more information, you can see the recording, or if there were any sessions you didn't attend as well. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my awesome colleague, Karen Dahlstrom, to go ahead and present today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you to everyone who is here joining us. I'm going to pull up our info session here for you and give our student who is along with us a chance to introduce herself. So Kate, take it away.
Hi guys, my name is Kate Normoyle. I'm a senior at Augustana College. I'm a double major in history and art history. And I'm really excited to share with you my home away from home, Augustana.
Awesome. So Kate and I are going to walk through just first some general fast facts about Augustana, and then we'll tell you a little bit about our commitments, our values, and then some things about student life as well, and the admission and scholarship process. So we look forward to taking your questions in the chat. Kate will be helping me out periodically with those as well. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, I mentioned the fast facts. I really feel like these are things, you can find with a quick Google search, but I want to tell you a little bit about why these matter at Augustana. So we do have 2,500 students, so it's small enough that we aren't tiny, but you get a lot of personal attention as a student. Next is that we have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So that really symbolizes our commitment to making sure that none of our students get lost in the crowd. Sort of along that same vein, our average class size is 18. So you are going to interact with professors who will become your mentors along the way. We have about 90 majors, minors, and other areas of study. So almost anything that you would want to do, you can absolutely do it at Augustana. You can see many of those programs listed on your screen. The ones that have a little bit bigger type are ones that have more students enrolled in them. But across the board with our majors, you're going to find a commitment to pre-professional studies, to things like business, accounting, graphic design. You'll find the arts, and certainly our commitment to our foundation of the humanities and the liberal arts. About 40% of our students have more than one major. So that is something at Augustana. You heard Kate has multiple programs of study, but if you are someone who loves to make connections with a lot of different areas of study, you want to ask questions, you want to wonder about the possibilities, you want to challenge the status quo, and you want to be in classes that are going to engage you in discussion, it's really a place for you to dive into and learn more. Our two newest programs are data analytics and kinesiology. So two great examples of interdisciplinary, more professional type studies that really fit within a liberal arts foundation. These are fields that students are solving problems and really trying to dive deeply into needs of the world and how we can help. I also think as we are talking about these fast facts, we know that something important to students is where a school is located. So we are located in the Quad Cities metro area. Rock Island, Illinois is Augustana's hometown, but the Quad Cities is actually made up of, well, 5 cities, even though it's the Quad Cities, but Rock Island, Moline, and East Moline on the Illinois side, and then Bettendorf and Davenport in Iowa. You can see on your screen that we are a bi-state region separated by the Mississippi River. So you can imagine the opportunities that exist for hiking, for biking, and just exploration and discovery in just this really culturally rich Midwestern city. You'll find internships and nonprofits and small businesses and large businesses, just tons of ways to get out into the Quad Cities area and get a lot of practical hands-on learning. And students like to do things like go to movies, shop, eat, go to coffee shops, all that fun stuff as well. You're going to find it in our nice mid-sized metropolitan area. So Kate, can I put you on the spot and ask you what some of your favorite places are in the Quad Cities?
Of course. So fortunately, a couple of my favorite places are already listed on this picture. The Figge Museum is a world-class art museum in the Quad Cities, and Augustana students can get in there for free on their Augustana student ID, which is really incredible. Up the hill, you'll see the Putnam Museum. That's another world-class, more kind of history science museum. A lot of our students in the more humanities majors tend to apply for internships there. And then, of course, Modern Woodman Baseball Field. Our Office of Student Life will often run a bus to do baseball games, baseball night on a Friday night. That's also a really fun time. You get to go with a big group of Augustana students. And then also you can see we have that beautiful riverfront right there that's got a walking path / bike path area that's also really, really pretty. And that kind of lumpy looking bridge right there, that's actually lit up at night, and that looks really beautiful to see from the riverfront as well.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique area since we do have the 4 distinct downtowns and just a lot of areas to explore for sure. So that is our location. Now, I told you we're going to dive a little more deeply into who Augustana really is than just our fast facts. So that's why we're going to spend some of our next few minutes together. I think it's important that you understand Augustana's mission and where we place a lot of our attention and decision making as we're thinking about investing in the lives of our students. First and foremost, we are committed to our students. No matter who you speak to at Augustana, no matter what role they have, we know that we are here to make the lives of our students better and help prepare our students for success by investing in those resources that will get them there. We're also committed to career preparation. This is important, and parents who are listening, I know this is especially important to parents. You want your students to have a really fantastic 4-year college experience, but at the end of the day, this is also about being somewhere that can provide you hands-on experiences and help you succeed in that first job or in graduate school. So and we'll talk about our career services in a little bit, but just through the opportunities outside the classroom that Augustana provides, we really want to ensure their success. Next is our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This one is incredibly important to us because we want every student at Augustana to have a sense of belonging. The world, as we know, is continuing to get more diverse, and it's important that we are educating young leaders who know how to collaborate and talk and discuss and understand the backgrounds of students from all different backgrounds in order to help solve problems and ultimately make the world a better place. About 2.5 years ago, we appointed a Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So under her leadership, we've continued to invest in services that serve students from all backgrounds. And the biggest portion of our students do still come from the state of Illinois, about 80% of our students, but we have 10% of our students are international students that come from about 40 different countries. And we also have a lot of other types of diversity on campus. So about 40% of our students are students of color or international students. And finally, we are committed to excellence both inside and outside of the classroom. You probably can already see it in Kate that Augustana students are active, they're ambitious, they're involved, they double and triple major at really high rates. And that's because it's really encouraged as part of life at Augustana. We want you to continue to grow not only as a student in what you're doing in the classroom, but as a well-rounded person. And I love, and we'll talk a little bit more about student life in a moment, but there are things that you are doing in high school that you want to continue doing in college. And these experiences are accessible to you at Augustana and allow you to have that full college experience with sports or clubs or fine arts or all friends, all the other things that, that help you grow as a human. Now, we never want a presentation to go by that we don't talk about the pride that we have at Augustana for the investments that we have made, the creativity that we've shown as an institution, and the continued innovation that we've had at Augustana. You can see on your screen that there are a significant number of projects that we've done in recent years, and we are proud to be among a small number of small colleges in the Midwest that continues to see this kind of growth and development. Our president's actually been at Augustana for over 15 years, and during his tenure, we've invested over $100 million in buildings alone. I've already talked a little bit about a couple of our new majors, but throughout the president's time, it's been significantly more than those two majors, but we've added athletic teams, new faculty, new student services, and really continuing to create space for our students to create and grow. So you can see on the screen, the two photos on the left are from our outdoor theater space and our new indoor theater space. We also have an addition to our Hansen Hall of Science that houses our growing environmental studies and neuroscience programs. And then that's inside of Hansen there, but we've also done renovation to our largest residence hall. That's in the center of that page. And then the new kinesiology program I was talking about earlier is actually going to be held in a brand new building that's opening in 2021. That's going to be a human performance lab, tons of lab space for our kinesiology majors. Our public health department will have space in there, and our brand new aquatics center. So we're super pumped about the new pool as well. So with that, I'm going to take a quick breath. And Kate, I'm curious, have we gotten any questions coming through on Q&A yet that you feel like would be helpful to address at this point?
We've had two so far, but they're not directly related to the presentation. So I think we'll answer them when we're done with the presentation, because they are good questions and we'll get to them.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. So I'm going to do my best to talk a little bit about what life looks like on campus as a student. And then of course, I'm going to invite Kate to chime in as well, since you are living the Augustana experience right now. But hopefully you've already seen through this portion of the presentation that we believe in the potential of every single one of our students. And we want to provide just a ton of options for you to build connections and confidence during your college years. So our students really can balance a lot of activities with their academics, and we just really want to help them get connected to the opportunities that you're seeing on your screen. So we have about 1 in 3 of our students are varsity athletes. We have a tremendous athletic tradition in the CCIW conference. We're NCAA Division III. We have 26 varsity sports, 2 of which are going to be brand new next year, men's and women's water polo and women's wrestling. So kind of exciting with those. We also have 1 in 4 of our students are in performing arts ensembles. So we have 12 performing arts ensembles in addition to a really robust theater and musical theater program. So regardless if you want to major in these areas or just have the opportunity to continue to participate, you're welcome to do it, and you can earn scholarships along the way as well. So we have things obviously like orchestra, choir, symphonic band, jazz band, opera, jazz combos, all kinds of ways to explore your creativity there. In terms of clubs and organizations, if we don't have it, I'd be surprised, things that you like, but you can always start clubs as well. But we do have over 150 options for our students. You can see a few of the examples on your screen in terms of student government, intramural sports, obviously cultural and faith groups, and a lot of opportunities to volunteer and serve the community, but active sororities and fraternities, things like Disney Club and Darwin Club and a Quidditch team, and also fencing and all sorts of other opportunities there. And then finally, before I'm going to let Kate chime in and make sure I didn't miss anything, we are really proud of the fact that we are in the top 10 in the entire country for for the number of academic All-Americans that, that Augustana has produced. So that is among, and I always have to look, 1,268 colleges and universities in the United States. We are in the top 10 in academic All-Americans. So these are students who are being recognized for significantly contributing to their sport, but also performing well in the classroom. So I would love to think if we had academic All-American in music or in leadership or other clubs and organizations and involvement, that you could walk and see that Augustana students will compete nationally with those opportunities that we're providing to them outside of the classroom. So Kate, I don't know if there's things I've missed about things that you think would be important for our audience to hear about what makes life enjoyable for you and keeps you busy.
I think the main thing is just at Augustana, you're allowed to be involved in as many or as few activities as you would like. So me personally, I'm in the Chinese club, the history club. I work on the theater shows a lot. I do a lot of tech stuff for theater. I'm in a sorority and I work on campus. So I have approximately 5 activities. I think I'm on the lower end for a lot of people that I know in terms of my involvement on campus. But when you first come to Augustana, we have our big activities fair. You can put your name on all of the email lists you would like. And then as you go through Augustana, people kind of pick and choose what their groups are going to be. People who are more volunteer oriented, we have a lot of things like Habitat for Humanity, Best Buddies, service organizations like APO that are all available to students. But if you're more on kind of I just kind of want to have a group of people to get together and like watch movies with, there's Star Wars Club, there's Disney Club. If you're looking to get into a new kind of music, we have Heavy Metal Club, we have K-pop Club. Like we have all of these options for a wide variety of students. And I think the best part about it is that if you can go to Prez Balls and give him the argument, and it's a good enough argument, you will be able to start your club. If you have the signatures and you make your case to Prez Balls at his office hours every month, you're going to be fine. And he's always willing to add new student organizations as long as there's student interest in it.
I love it. And I think it really does sort of underline to me the fact that our students come to Augustana to learn, but they're also connected to things outside of the class. So it's not a place that's going to clear out on nights or on weekends. Students are here for the whole experience. And I really do think that it provides those connections and friendships that really are what so many students are looking for out of their college years. So we're going to completely transition to all the practical things with searching for jobs and what happens with career development and career services at Augustana. So I'm going to walk you through a place that we call CORE. And CORE really is at the core, the center of campus, and it stands for Careers, Opportunities, Research, and Exploration. So you literally can walk through, this is called Core Commons, you can walk through this one door and not only hang out like these students are, but you can access all kinds of different services. It really is all about giving students those skills we were talking about earlier to stand out to employers or to graduate schools. You can see, again, it's if you're looking for internships, jobs, you might be in a field that requires research opportunities. This is even on-campus employment. Those volunteer opportunities Kate was talking about, if you want to look at a list of those and get connected. And then I love also highlighting the career coaching here. Career coaching can not only help you when you're at the beginning of your college experience, trying to for sure decide exactly what you might want to study and what careers that connects to. It also helps you throughout when it comes time to search for job shadows or internships to really crystallize exactly what type of placements you're looking for. So our career coaches get matched to you based on your majors. Next up is entrepreneurship. This is also located in CORE, and we really are excited about how this connects with all of you students right now. A lot of you might already have your own side gig. You know, you might already be selling stuff on Etsy, or you might be doing service opportunities or things like that, or you just dream someday of having your own kind of business. EDGE is all about getting you in there regardless of your major and teaching you practical business skills to build a portfolio. So they are working with local companies who come to Augustana and ask for help with business planning, with marketing, with web development, graphic design, just event planning, all kinds of different things that our local companies need, and they utilize Augustana students to do it. So you're building your resume right on campus. This off-campus learning, we love having you in Rock Island, but we also love getting you where you want to go long-term. So we do have about 89% of our students do an internship, research, or international program during their time at Augustana. About 55% of our students do have a study away experience, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then for our class of 2019, we have 98% of those students were placed within 6 months of graduation in graduate school, a job, or in professional service. So I think this really speaks to the fact that we don't just want you hanging out on campus, getting your classes done, but we want to connect you with great experiences. I like pointing out 2 of the students that you can see on your screen. First of all is Ryan. He's our journalist there. He now works in the Milwaukee area, but that's when he worked at Channel 8 here in the Quad Cities. But when he was a student, he was wanting to get journalism experience. And he went through our New York internship program, went to New York City, got placed with CBS This Morning, and worked alongside Gil King. What a dream, absolute dream placement for somebody looking to get a foot in the door of the journalism field. You can also see on your screen Max. He graduated a few years before Ryan, but he actually was all in his scrubs getting ready to go to the Texas Medical Center for an internship program. This is an absolutely world-class internship program, highly competitive, and Augustana sends 10 to 12 students to Houston to the MD Anderson Cancer Center, Baylor School of Medicine, and Rice School of Medicine every single year to complete internships. So I really think it's a testament, especially within the sciences, of that preparation that we're providing to our students. I mentioned study away a moment ago. I can't help but admit that this might be kind of a little bit more like what our study away map would look like right now, since we, due to the pandemic, we are not actively having students all over the globe. But in a normal semester, this is where our students would be. So when I'm sitting here on campus and I think about the power of what we are doing here on campus, and then I just think of the reach of Augustana and this network of people across the whole globe, it floors me. I'm in absolute awe, and I love the fact that we can connect you. We have about 60 programs in fall and spring that we can connect you with, and then all kinds of programs during January or J-term and summer as well. I just love these pictures. Don't you just want to go with Joel and ride a camel or go to Spain with Claire up in the left-hand corner? It's pretty awesome. So you might ask, how does Augustana do it? And how do we create this kind of a culture? And a big part of the reason why is through our Augie Choice program. We've actually invested over $9 million in this program since it started in 2009. And it's as simple as what it looks like on the screen. We give every junior or senior $2,000 to help fund an internship, research, or international program. So this can help offset the costs of these high impact hands-on learning experiences. So this is the next spot where I love to hear students take. So Kate, I don't know if you want to share your experience thus far with Augie Choice or other things you know people have been up to.
So I know for me with my Augie Choice, I was a little bit of a unique case because I actually used my Augie Choice my sophomore year. Augustana was about to transition from our trimester calendar to a semester calendar, so I was on the very last trimester abroad that Augustana ran. I went to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. I was there for about 2.5 months. I studied Dutch literature, Dutch culture, and Dutch art while I was there. And I personally think it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I went with 14 other Augustana students and 2 Augustana faculty. So when I was taking my art history class, I was in world-class museums every single week, actually looking at the art I was supposed to be studying. Me and one of my friends who I connected with really through this study abroad experience got to travel on the weekends. We went as far from the Netherlands as England, Hungary, Austria, Germany, Belgium. We traveled all over the place as much as we could. And Augie Choice is what got me to the Netherlands. Augie Choice paid for my plane ticket. And in my experience, most of, at least my friends, tend to use their Augie Choice for a study abroad experience. So I always like to use the example. Last year was our first J-term. during that J term, I had 3 roommates that year. All 3 of them were studying abroad in 3 different countries. So I had one in Vienna in Austria, I had one in Norway, and then I had another one studying abroad in Cambodia for that whole month. But if study abroad's not your thing, you can also use it to offset the cost of living for an internship. One of my good friends recently used his Augie Choice. He was working an unpaid internship. He really wanted some help with his rent. So he was able to apply for his Augie Choice and offset the cost of living for doing this internship. And then, of course, if you're doing research as well, research is also something that's super important to Augustana. A lot of our professors are actively involved in research, and some students need funding. And sometimes grants are a little hard to come by. So your Augie Choice is essentially a kickstart to your research you're really, really passionate about.
Awesome. I couldn't have said that better myself, Kate. I absolutely love it. I was peeking at the chat just a little bit while you were talking. And I do, before I move on to sort of our admission process and a few other nuts and bolts, I wanted to address one question we got about our percentage of commuters versus on-campus residents. So our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are required to live on campus. Unless you're local, then you can commute. But we do have over 95% of our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors live on campus. And then senior year, you live off campus. That's sort of part of our housing. So Kate, I'm going to put you on the spot. You actually grew up here in the local area and have chosen to live on campus, right?
Yes, I did. So actually, it was partly a choice, partly, both of my parents are also Augustana alumni, and my dad also grew up in the area. And the first words out of his mouth when I told him I was going to Augustana were, "Great, you're living in the dorms." And I said, "Okay, I'm fine with that." And I wasn't quite sure how I was going to find dorm living. I've always had my own room. I wasn't quite sure about having a roommate. So I was like, I'll at least do the freshman year. And if the freshman year turns out to not be particularly pleasant for me, I'll just move home. It'll be fine. I ended up meeting my very best friend through Augustana, and we ended up being roommates. I met her at an Augustana admissions event called It Begins with A. That's an April event that we usually do. That's where we met for the very first time. We were in the same tour group. To make a long story short, we lived together for a full 3 years. Every single year that we lived on campus at Augustana, we lived together. Unfortunately, this year, I decided to stay at home because there's no rent at home, and she's living off campus in an off-campus house, but we are planning on moving in together after we leave Augustana and graduate as well. But I felt that residence at Augustana was probably one of my favorite parts of it. I loved all of my residence halls. I loved living with my roommate. I loved my floor. I also really love the Augustana way that we do residence. So in your freshman year, you live in a traditional residence hall, so double rooms, communal bathrooms, that kind of stuff. It doesn't sound particularly pleasant, I understand, but it was so much fun. There was 40 girls on my floor. We had a big group chat that we would all text in. Your floor mates, even if you don't know them super well, it's really nice to sometimes walk into a classroom and think, oh, I know her, she lives down the hall from me. And that's a really cool experience about having that traditional residence hall. One of my really good friends that ended up being in my major lived clear down the hall from me, but we were always in the bathroom at the same time washing our face in the morning. And that's how we got to know each other before we actually had any classes together. So it's stuff like that that really makes the Augustana experience unique. And then going up into your sophomore year, you have the option of suite style living or another traditional residence hall. That's really up to your personal preference. They're about the same level. It just kind of depends on whether or not you'd like to have a communal bathroom or not. And then your junior year was my favorite year because you get to have what are called TLAs. TLAs are your transitional living areas. They're basically small apartments. So you have a living room, a kitchen, and then depending on the TLA, either your own room or you're just sharing with one other person. And that's so much fun to have your junior year, to have like your little group of friends living in your apartment. Unfortunately, my time in my apartment got cut short due to the pandemic, but it was so much fun. The girls that I lived with, we all had such a great time living together. We miss it dearly, but just an amazing part of Augustana's residence.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. It makes me miss my time at Augustana as a student as well. So we are going to completely change gears, as I mentioned, and I'm hoping that you, as you're listening to this, do find yourself thinking, you know, Augustana sounds like a place where I want to dive in a little bit more and get a little bit more information about. So the best place to start if you are a senior is by getting your admission application going. Those applications open August 1st each year, and you can see that our earliest application deadlines are November 1st. So the month of October is really important. We do have 3 different decision plans, so you can go the binding early decision route, which is if you absolutely know you want to go to Augustana, you can apply that way. Early action is non-binding, but it does have that November 1st deadline. And then regular decision is if you're applying maybe a little bit later in the process. Each of our applications collects the same information. So whether you choose to do the common application or our Augustana application, those requirements and supplemental materials are the same that you see below. I should note as well, early decision applicants are notified of admission and scholarship by November 15th. They get their financial aid package by December 1st, and the whole process is wrapped up and you're committed to Augustana by January 15th. Early action, as I mentioned, has that November 1st deadline to apply, but then you would get your application reviewed and an application or an admission and scholarship decision by December 20th. And then your full financial aid package would come by February 1st. So just to give you a sense of some of those milestones along the way with the timeline. In terms of the application requirements, obviously you submit the application itself. You will also require your official high school transcript, a secondary school report, which is completed by your high school counselor, and your counselor is notified that you need that when you apply because you put their email address on your application. So those are things we absolutely need in order to make our admission and scholarship decision. Supplemental materials include your ACT or SAT scores. We understand the significant disruption in standardized testing this year, so please know, and I feel like I need to underline and bold this, you do not need standardized test scores to apply to Augustana. We have been test optional since 2007, so we're very well equipped to make admission and scholarship decisions without those standardized tests. And the only thing that we see this year that's going to be different with how we review those applications that don't have test scores is that we're going to have a whole lot more of them, right? This year, maybe even next year, there's just be a whole lot more students that either haven't been able to complete a test, or maybe you only got to take it once and just you have enough things to worry about. Standardized tests do not need to be one of them if Augustana is one of your top schools. Letters of recommendation are great if you have teachers or coaches or someone who wants to submit those, but they will not hold up your application review process. And then I'll put in a quick plug for an interview. And I always wish this said like one-on-one chat or casual conversation with a member of our team, because it is more that than it is an interview. But I always tell students, if you have pieces of your application that you want to explain to someone, you don't just want us to look at it on a computer screen, an interview is a great idea. Kate, you can vouch, we're very nice people in our office, right? So if you are a person too that you have just a really strong interest in Augustana and you want to know more, you want to dive in and ask your individual questions, you can interview us. We're more than happy to answer your questions as well. So you will, especially if you're a senior, very likely if you haven't already heard from your admission counselor to try and get something set up, stay on the lookout and reply to your email. They'd love to meet with you. In terms of what we look for, a lot of times students want to know, will I be competitive for admission at Augustana? So this kind of gives you a sense. Your high school record is really important. We don't just look at the GPA that's on your transcript. We actually dive in and look at your recalculated GPA. So that's your grades in English, math, science, social studies, and foreign language. So that's when we talk about a recalculated GPA. Almost all of our admitted students have above a 3.0 academic core recalculated GPA. We also love to see, you can imagine that we really like to see students who have found those things outside the classroom that keep them busy, that make them tick. So that might be athletics, it might be music, it might be volunteering, but even things like part-time jobs or taking care of family members. We want to hear about all of that. And the other tip that I like to give students, and this isn't just at Augustana, but just maybe something people don't know about colleges in general, is a place like Augustana, we are looking to make connections with students before we just send your application through to admit. So what we want to do is know that we have had some contact with you. So again, if we are calling you or we're emailing you or texting you, just a quick, touch base. Y'all are on this, which is awesome. So we know that you've demonstrated interest as well. But other ways you can do that is by participating in other on-demand options that we have, or our on-campus visit events. So in terms of scholarships and financial aid, I do know that this is always an important consideration for students and their families. And you are automatically considered for merit-based scholarships when you submit your admissions application to Augustana. And those run anywhere from $24,000 to $28,000 a year, and you're notified of those in your acceptance letter. Students who are competitive for our academic scholarships typically have above a 3.2 recalculated GPA. So just to give you a sense, that top scholarship, that $28,000 per year, is typically students in the top 10% of their high school class, or they're normally going to have about a 3.8 recalculated GPA on a 4.0. Those specialty awards that are referenced here are things like our campus visit grant. So if you can come to campus before May 1st of your senior year, you can qualify for that award. We'll have an online virtual departmental open house and scholarship competition for applied and admitted students coming up in November and January. We have things like our early filers award. So if you file your FAFSA by November 1st, you automatically get $750. So just a lot of these other smaller awards. Fine arts scholarships would be this as well. So if you want to continue in art or design, theater, or music, those would all be specialty awards that have a separate audition process as well. In terms of other need-based aid, so things like student loans, things like grants, federal work study, your eligibility for any of those types of programs will be determined by the free application for federal student aid, so the results of your FAFSA. So it just opened actually October 1st. If you are a senior, you can fill that out now for next fall of 2021. But if you're a junior or below, just know it's always October 1st is when you can begin filling that out for the next year. So I'm going to hop onto a few next steps, and I know we have only about 5 minutes remaining, so if you do have any questions, please pop those in the Q&A box for us. In terms of next steps, seniors applying would be awesome. That's really a great way for you to just get connected with your admission counselor and really have that opportunity to dive in a little bit more deeply. I already mentioned that online one-on-one counselor meeting as well. But then we are open right now for on-campus tours. You might imagine that experience looks a little different. Kate can attest to that. You give tours quite a lot. You can get in most places, but we can't take you in the really large gathering spaces of our students. So we have videos of our res halls, but we can't take you in the res halls. We have tons of videos of our dining hall, but you can't go eat in there right now. But I'll tell you what, I really think that families are having tremendous experiences just setting foot on campus and bringing to life the brochures and the emails and all of the other things that you get. So do not hesitate. It's augustana.edu/visit is where you can find all of those, both on-demand, live virtual, and on-campus visit events. So with that, I'm going to put my contact information up here for you. And I know both Kate and I would be more than happy to answer if there are any other questions that come through. I think, Kate, I was kind of spying on them. I think that we're good for what's in there right now, but does anyone else have any final questions before we sign off? Oh, we just got a question regarding
Financial aid.
Financial aid. What percentage of seniors have the same scholarship as they were awarded as freshmen? This might be a really good question, and we'll get a record of this so I can make sure and follow back up with you, Parker, sort of separately too. I can give you a few more details. So a couple things that I would say about scholarships. First of all, the scholarship that you get as a first-year student, so that one that's either 24, 26, 28, you will receive that same amount each of your 4 years at Augustana, as long as you maintain a certain grade point average. So if your grade point average happens to drop, then your scholarship might drop according to that. However, though, if you're getting more so at like what's renewable and not renewable out of some of these other things that I've been talking about, almost everything is renewable. Where if you get it as a first year student, especially if it's this non-need based aid, like your early filers award, like your campus visit grant, those academic departmental scholarships I was talking about, if you qualify for one of those are all renewable all 4 years, as long as you file FAFSA on time, or I'm trying to think of other ones that might, or like fine arts, you know, as long as you maintain your participation in that ensemble.
Yeah, I know for the theater department, if you have a scholarship, you have to either be in at least one main stage production, or you have to attend all of the main stage productions that we put on. And then I have a renewable scholarship from the history department, which is one of my majors, and that just requires me to take 2 history courses every single year, which as a major I usually have to take at least 3, so I'm always covered on that. So they're not very hard to renew, even if you do have to renew them.
Well, Kate, we have like 3 minutes left. Are there any, I have talked a lot during this presentation. I don't know, are there other closing thoughts that you would have or advice that you would give the students who are joining us?
I would say advice to the students when they're looking at colleges, pay attention to how professors interact with students and how students feel about their professors. I felt when I was looking at Augustana and looking at colleges in general, I talked to Augustana professors the most out of the 9 colleges that I looked at. I was always talking to an Augustana professor. When I went to visit the history department, I was talking to a history professor, and he was like, oh, that's really interesting. The chair of the department likes that. Let's go over and talk to her, and like introduce me to the chair of the department. On my first day there, first visit, he's known me for 40 minutes. And I was constantly talking to Augustana professors, and I didn't really get that experience at other schools. And coming to Augustana as a student, your relationships with faculty are super important, and they're absolutely incredible. All my advisors that I've had have been amazing and so helpful and really care about me as a student and watching me succeed as a student. And I feel like that's something you should really think about when you're looking at colleges, because these are the people that you're going to be dealing with on a daily basis. So you want to like them, and you want them to be invested in you as a student.
I love that. We're gonna end it right there. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. Jen, I know that you have a couple of more announcements before we break. So thanks for having us tonight, guys.
Thank you, Karen and Kate. That was great. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased. So let me go ahead and just wrap up with a few notes for you all today. Once again, thank you so much for being willing to attend this evening. We really appreciate you being part of this experience. So just to kind of wrap up real quick, there will be a quick survey at the end of this presentation when you close out of the window. It's 4 questions, super simple. Please fill that out, as it provides great feedback for our presenters so that we can make sure that these experiences are what you're hoping for. Also, going to remind you once again, sign up for more sessions if you have some time. You can go to IACAC.org to register for those sessions, and you can see all of the recordings available at IACAC.org.com as well. Or sorry, IACAC.org. Don't add a .com to that or you'll be at the wrong area. But thank you all so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care.